What if the most powerful tool you will ever possess is something you cannot see, touch, or consciously control? It is already inside you every second of every day. Your brain is processing information, making predictions, recognizing patterns, regulating your body, storing memories, and influencing your decisions. Much of it outside your conscious awareness. We often call this hidden mental activity the subconscious mind, and although the subconscious isn't a magical force capable of granting every wish, it can do something remarkably powerful. It can shape what you notice, what you believe is possible, how you behave, and what you repeatedly do. That means changing the way you think can sometimes change the direction of your entire life. Not overnight, not through magic, but through thousands of tiny decisions that eventually become a completely different reality. The mind beneath the mind. Imagine walking into a crowded restaurant. There may be hundreds of sounds around you, conversations, music, footsteps, laughter. Yet, if someone across the room says your name, you may immediately notice it. Why? Because your brain is constantly filtering information. You don't consistently process everything around you. You couldn't. There is simply too much information. Your brain decides what deserves attention, and this is where your subconscious becomes fascinating. The things you repeatedly think about can influence what you notice. If you're thinking about buying a particular model of car, suddenly you start seeing that car everywhere. It isn't necessarily because everyone suddenly bought one. Your brain has simply become more sensitive to it. The world didn't change, your attention changed. And when your attention changes, what you perceive as important changes with it. That principle can be incredibly useful if you constantly focus on everything that can go wrong. Your mind becomes exceptionally good at finding evidence of danger. But if you begin asking, what opportunities am I missing? What can I learn? What can I do next? You train your attention to search for different possibilities. You aren't pretending problems don't exist. You are teaching your mind to look beyond them. Your brain learns what you repeat. One of the most powerful characteristics of the human brain is its ability to learn. Every time you practice something, you will strengthen the neural pathways involved in that behavior. This is why repetition matters. The first time you drive a car, everything requires concentration. Where is the brake? How hard should you press it? When should you change lanes? Eventually, much of the process becomes automatic. You don't consciously calculate every movement. Your brain has learned the pattern. The same thing happens with habits. If you repeatedly wake up and immediately reach for your phone, that behavior becomes easier and more automatic. If you repeatedly exercise at the same time every morning, eventually getting started requires less internal debate. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm terrible at this, that thought can become an automatic response to difficulty, but there is also true. You can practice courage, you can practice patience, you can practice discipline, you can practice looking for solutions instead of excuses. The subconscious mind learns from repetition, and that means your daily behavior is constantly teaching your brain what kind of person you are. Belief can become a direction. Consider two people facing the same difficult challenge. The first thing, I'm probably going to fail. The second things, you don't know how to do this yet, but I can learn. Neither person has a guarantee of success, but their beliefs can produce completely different behavior. The first person may avoid the challenge, the second may research, practice, ask questions, make mistakes, and try again. Eventually, those differences in behavior create differences in result. This is why positive thinking is often misunderstood. Simply saying I will become successful doesn't automatically make success happen. Your subconscious isn't a wish granting machine, but your expectations can influence your behavior, and your behavior influences your results. So the real power isn't in merely imagining the destination, it is using your imagination to make the destination feel possible enough that you are willing to start working toward it. Your mind can rehearse the future athletes have used visualization for decades before a competition. They may mentally rehearse movements, strategies, and situations. Why can this help? Because imagining an action isn't identical to performing it, but mental rehearsal can engage some of the same brain systems involved in planning and execution. The same principle can be applied to everyday life. Before an important conversation, imagine yourself staying calm. Before an interview, imagine yourself speaking clearly. Before beginning a difficult project, imagine yourself working through the first obstacle rather than obsessing over the possibilities of failure. You are not predicting the future, you are preparing your mind for it. And preparation changes behavior. When the real moment arrives, the situation may feel less unfamiliar because your brain has already explored it. The subconscious loves patterns. Your subconscious mind is incredibly good at recognizing patterns. Sometimes this ability helps you, sometimes it works against you. Suppose you failed at something years ago, your conscious mind may say that was one experience, but your subconscious might have learned a different association. Trying this is dangerous, so the next time a similar opportunity appears, you'll hesitate. You may not even understand why, you simply feel uncomfortable. This is why personal growth often involves becoming curious about your automatic reactions. Ask yourself, why do I always avoid this? Why do I assume I'm going to fail? Why do I become nervous whenever I get close to an opportunity? Sometimes the answer is hidden in an old pattern, and once you recognize a pattern, you gain something incredibly valuable, the ability to change it. Small actions create extraordinary results. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to transform their lives through enormous bursts of motivation. They decide tomorrow everything changes. They create an impossible schedule. They promise to exercise 2 hours every day, read 50 books, start a business, wake up at 5, eat perfectly, and completely eliminate every bad habit. 3 days later, they exhausted. Then they conclude that they lack discipline. But lasting change often works differently. Your subconscious responds remarkably well to repetition. So make the new behavior small enough to repeat. Read 10 pages, walk for 20 minutes, write for 15 minutes. Practice a skill every day. Put your phone away from 1 hour. Save a small amount of money. One action may feel insignificant, but repeated hundreds of times, significant actions become powerful. A single drop of water seems harmless. A river can carve stone. Protect what you feed your mind. Your subconscious doesn't exist in isolation. It is constantly exposed to information, the conversations you have, the people you spend time with, the videos you watch, the news you consume, the stories you tell yourself, the environment around you. All of these can influence your thoughts, emotions, expectations, and habits. This doesn't mean you should live in a bubble or avoid every negative experience. It means you should become selective. If you spend hours consuming content that makes you feel hopeless, angry, or inadequate, don't be surprised if those emotions become familiar. If you surround yourself with people who constantly tell you that nothing can change, eventually that belief may begin to feel like reality. Your mind is impressionable. Treat that as a responsibility. The greatest superpower is becoming intentional. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about the subconscious mind is that you don't have to control every thought. You only need to become more intentional about the patterns you repeatedly create. You cannot stop every negative thought. You cannot eliminate fear. You cannot guarantee success. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can influence what you repeatedly practice. You can choose what you pay attention to. You can question beliefs that no longer serve you. You can build habits that make the person you want to become easier to be, and slowly something remarkable happens. The behavior that once required enormous effort begins to feel normal. The thing you once feared becomes familiar. The skill you once thought was impossible becomes something you can perform automatically. The person you want to become starts appearing in your everyday actions. That is the real superpower, not magic, not instant manifestation, not simply wishing for a different life. It is the extraordinary ability of the human brain to learn, adapt, rehearse, automate, and change. Your subconscious mind is working every day, whether you pay attention to it or not. The question is, why are you teaching it? Because every repeated thought is practice, every repeated action is practice, every habit is a message, And over time, those messages can become the architecture of your life. You don't have to transform everything today. You only have to begin giving your mind better instructions. Choose the thought, choose the habit, choose the action. Repeat it, then repeat it again and again, because the life you want may not be created by one extraordinary moment. It may be created quietly, almost invisible inside your mind, one repetition at a time.